Hey there, I'm Dayna Johnson, dental practice management expert, certified Dentrix trainer, and founder of Navoni, revolutionizing the dental industry through innovation and strategic leadership. It wasn't long ago that I lived in your shoes, navigating the daily challenges of managing a dental practice with the hopes and dreams of having a productive schedule, money in the bank, and getting home on time to my sweet daughter. After 25 years working in the dental practice and 17 years as a certified Dentrix trainer, I found my life's work, helping dental teams one-on-one, optimizing their systems and software. If you are looking to create the thriving dental practice you have always dreamed of and empower your high-performing dental team, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Hey, my friends, welcome back. Okay, we are on part 2 of our 5-part series on some fall cleanup. And so while you may be out raking leaves, you might look into your Dentrix software and you may find some places where you can do some fall cleanup, getting rid of that old, outdated data, or maybe you just want to clean some things up. So last week we talked about inactivating providers and team members. So if you want to jump back into that episode, feel free to do that and take some notes and make sure that you are, inactivating team members and providers that are no longer at your practice. There's no reason to keep them in your list of in your software, at least as active if they're no longer at your practice. And so you can listen back on that episode. Okay, so while we are on the topic of fall cleanup, my next lesson for you is going to involve definitions. And this one gets a little bit more tricky. And so when I talk about definitions, I'm talking about your adjustment types list, your payment types, your, let's see, what else? Any of those appointment reasons, and when you're going to schedule an appointment, those are all included in the definitions. And it can just be like, I don't know, overrun by team members adding new things to the list. So if you give people free reign, you don't password protect certain things down in your Dentrix software, then your team has free range to add whatever they want to add. And so I continually see where the adjustment type list gets longer and longer and longer and longer. And eventually you have a list of like 100 adjustment types and you're only using about 20. So I'm going to talk a little bit about adjustment types and payment types. Not really going to dive into the appointment reasons in this conversation, but it kind of falls along the same lines. And because it involves you having to give a replacement, just like we talked about with your inactivating providers, you have to give it a replacement. Same thing goes for adjustment types and payment types. Now, the main difference in this section, in this episode, is that when you do remove an adjustment type or a payment type, it will change the history on the ledger. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. If you do change a definition, and in today's episode, when I'm talking about definitions, I'm talking about the adjustment types and the payment types. It will change history. So this conversation is going to be really important because the reason why I'm doing this series is so you know what you can change, what you can clean up, and how it affects your data. Okay? So, for example, let's say that you have an adjustment type for insurance write-offs. Let's say you have an adjustment type for, and it says, the definition says insurance write-off or insurance adjustment. And you also have adjustment types for Cigna adjustment, MetLife adjustment, Delta Dental adjustment, United Concordia adjustment, and you want to get rid of all of those United Concordia, Delta, and Cigna, and Aetna. And you want to get rid of all those individual adjustments because maybe you've now gone out of network with all of those plans. And now it's not necessary for you to have that entire list of individual insurance adjustment types. You want to get rid of all of those out of your list because they are now unnecessary. You don't need them in the list. So you want to delete them out, right? You want to delete them. Well, it's not as easy. You can't just delete them because they have been used in history. And so what you can do is you can replace them all with the insurance adjustment. So what would happen is in your patient ledger history, it will change from Delta Dental insurance adjustment to insurance adjustment. And if you're okay with that, then go for it. I think that's a good compromise. I think that's a great compromise. It's still going to say insurance adjustment. It doesn't do anything with the dollar amount, but it does change the definition text. So, for example, if you have gone out of network and you have all these individual insurance plan adjustments listed in your insurance adjustment in your adjustment type list, and you want to get rid of them all, then what you're going to do is you're going to go into your office manager, and you're going to highlight the one that you want to get rid of. And as soon as you click delete, it's going to ask you for a replacement adjustment type. So if you want to get rid of Cigna insurance adjustment and you want to replace it with insurance adjustment, then you pick the replacement, you go ahead and click OK. It's going to take several minutes. So be aware that this will take some time because it does have to go back through all the ledger histories of all patients that you have used that definition type, because it will change over the history. Now, I don't want to talk you out of it. I just want to be realistic. One thing that my husband Kevin says about me is he always calls me the realist. He's the optimist in the family. I'm the realist in the family. And so I just want to give you realistic expectations that when you do start to change over your definitions, right now we're talking about adjustment types. If you want to clean up your adjustment type list, you can do it. And I do want you to have a cleaner list of adjustment types because I go into offices all the time and I see duplicates a lot. So I do encourage you to keep this list clean. I just want to give you some realistic expectations that if you have a very large Dentrix database and you've been on Dentrix for a while, it could potentially take you, a few hours to get through all of the definition changes that you want to get through. So maybe do it on a day off when you're not seeing a lot of patients. And so I would just encourage you to make sure that you're prepared for the time involved because it could take several minutes. Another thing, several minutes per change. So I just want to let you know that. Another thing that I want you to be aware of is as soon as you click on delete and you pick your adjustment that you want to replace it with and you click OK, it's going to act like nothing is happening. Like there's no timer there's no countdown timer. There's no band that's going to be showing you that it's working. Just know that it is working. And so there's no spinning wheel of death or anything like that. Just don't keep clicking it again because that is what's going to slow it down. So as soon as you click OK, it's working in the background. I just want you to be aware of that. And you have to be patient. This is a task of patience. So, grab a pizza and, just sit back and watch the magic happen. You're not going to be watching anything happen because there's no countdown wheel. There's no, countdown timer or anything like that. You just have to kind of have faith in the process that it is working. I just want you to have a realistic expectation of what's happening. All right. We're going to continue on this conversation as soon as we come back.
Did you know that you could increase your team's productivity by up to 200% if you had a formal team training program in place? And businesses that do have a formal team training program in place also enjoy up to a 24% increase in profit margin. If you want to learn how and book a call with me, click on the show notes and book a free discovery call with me, and we will talk all about it.
Okay. The other thing that I see with cleaning up your adjustment types and your payment types is that you also end up with a lot of duplicates. And I also see a lot of vague and generic adjustment types. Okay. So as a dental practice management consultant, and so when I put on my practice management hat and I want you to have really good systems in place, I want to look out for the bookkeeper, the CPA, the practice owner who is really needing to know what they are writing off. So I'm not a big fan of seeing a lot of generic adjustment types. When I talk, what am I talking about? Well, I see a lot of miscellaneous debit, miscellaneous credit adjustment, debit adjustment. I also see office write-off or in-office write-off. And it's like, what does that mean exactly? Like, what is that? What are you writing off? And so whenever I see duplicate generic insurance or adjustments, I also would like for you to clean those up too. I think those are junk adjustment types. If I was working with your practice, I would want to get rid of those junk adjustment types because they're basically worthless. They don't tell you anything. If I was a doctor, if I was a practice owner, and I ran my adjustment report, like every month, you should be running an adjustment report to see how much money you're writing off. And if I see like $10,000 in the credit adjustment category, I'd be like, what did I write off $10,000 for? Because it doesn't tell you anything. You would then have to run an adjustment only day sheet to find out all the patients that related to. And then you'd have to look up in their ledger to see what it is. So I'm a big fan of having more specific, very clear adjustment types so that when your practice owners are looking at how much money they're writing off every month, that it's super clear for them. So if in your list of adjustments, you have a lot of duplicate generic adjustment types, you have miscellaneous, credit, office write-off, those kinds of things, you could clean up your list and you could decide which one you want to keep. So maybe you do want one adjustment type that's generic. I sometimes call that the junk drawer, where that's just a junk adjustment type and you throw stuff in there. And so maybe you decide which one you want to keep, and then I would delete all those duplicates and move that into the one you want to keep. Now, just like I said before a few minutes ago, it will change the history. So, for example, let's say you decide you want to keep the office write-off, okay? And then you want to get rid of the credit adjustment and the miscellaneous credit adjustment. So you want to get rid of those two generic ones. You're going to dump everything into the in-office. So what's going to happen is if you've used the credit adjustment in the past, then it will change over the patient ledger history, and it will now say office write-off. Not really a big deal. I mean, they basically say the same thing, okay? So patients won't really know the difference. They're not going to see their ledger history typically. So it's basically an in-office process system, and that will clean up your ledger or your adjustment list significantly to get rid of some of those duplicate generic adjustment types. All right. So then with payment types, it's very similar. It's very possible that you may have also some duplicates. I also see where a lot of offices have their credit cards broken down into specific types of credit cards. You might have Visa payment, MasterCard payment, American Express payment, Discover card payment. So you might have those broken out into 4 different types of payment types. That's fine if that's how you want it. But if you wanted to consolidate the list and you're like, I really don't care, I just want it to say credit card payment, then you definitely could delete all those other ones and replace them with credit card payment. And just so you know, it will change the history. So it will then move it from saying Discover card payment to credit card payment. So just trying to give you some realistic expectations of what to expect if you do this type of cleanup. I don't really see too many duplicate payment types as much as I do adjustment types, but I hope that that really helps you with cleaning up your definitions. I'm looking in my list here of definitions to see if there's anything else that you would, billing types is also something that may need to get cleaned up as well. Billing types is a way that you can categorize your patients. I do see a lot of duplicate billing types. And so same thing happens. The billing type is only used on the family file. It kind of gives the account a category. And but if you want to talk more about billing types, I'd love to schedule a call with you. But as far as cleaning up the definitions, the same thing goes. And you do have to give it a replacement and all of that. So anytime you're changing over any of your definitions, you will have to give it a replacement. Just the main difference is from our podcast last week is it does change the history. So it's very important that you're aware of that. All right, my friends. Boy, time flies when I talk a lot. I hope that you found this second part of our series of fall cleanup very helpful for you. And if you'd like, I would love it if you could share it, rate it, review it, share it with your colleagues. Please give us a 5-star review. That is how the algorithms find our information and share it with more people. So I really appreciate you spending your morning or afternoon with me, and I look forward to watching your journey of becoming a high-performing dental team.